Welcome to my pantry. I am really excited that you came by today to take a look at what I have here in my pantry. I've been encouraged for quite a while to show my pantry because of the home canned and different ways of preservation methods that I use. I was not a fan of that idea at first because I know I follow quite a few people who have beautiful pantries. And although I feel like my pantry might impress some who are unfamiliar with the preservation side of home canning and dehydrating, I am a little intimidated though because I have seen some pantries floating around here on YouTube and they're incredible. But nonetheless, I decided I will go ahead and give you a preview of what my pantry looks like. So I think this is going to be a multi-step process. So today I will take you around, I will share with you the items I have in here, and then I think we'll move it a step forward and we'll have a second part explaining the how, the why, and all of the questions that I usually get when people see my pantry for the first time. I think it's interesting to not only know what I have in here, but why do I have it? How come I have the amount that I do? And how do I do it all? So, first step though, let's take a look at what I have. On that top whole row, you can see that it's pretty much comprised of condiments, dressings, hot sauces. I've got a little bit of Nutella and peanut butter off to the far left side. But basically, if you're looking for a condiment, barbecue sauce, salad dressing, and I send you into my pantry to grab something, that's where you're going to find it. It's that top shelf right there. Below all of those G-Hue dressings and all of my other condiments, I do have a row where I like to try to keep stocked with canned beans. I am trying very hard to no longer purchase canned beans from the store. Now, I do have some on my shelf still as an overflow from when, of course, I've had beans in the past as a backup, perhaps because there are some beans that tend to be a little bit more delicate than others. I like to have it, just like I said, as a backup until I really figure out the canning method for some certain beans. Lima beans are one of those. They can just really break down quite a bit in the home canning process. And so I will have butter beans and lima beans as a backup. Under my beans is where I like to keep my vegetables. I have beets, I have carrots, green beans, and corn currently home canned on that shelf right now. I do have both canned green beans and sweet peas on the shelf from the store. And I do that for several reasons. The green beans, there's dishes I will make throughout the year where I'm making very large quantities. And I would rather go through those than my home canned beans, green beans. So I do always keep a few of those store-bought on my shelf. So this is my home canned spaghetti sauce. I did this 2 years ago. I canned both spaghetti sauce with meat in it, which is what this jar is, and then I canned the spaghetti sauce without the meat. I prefer, and my family definitely preferred, the sauce without the meat in it. I have 3 jars still left on my shelf, and basically every time I make a large batch of lasagna or manicotti, stuffed shells, I'll throw in one of these jars with whatever other marinara or spaghetti sauce I might be using. I don't like what it did to the meat with the sugar that is naturally in a tomato. I found with some other different products that I've canned, I don't like the outcome of putting hamburger meat in with a tomato-based product. So that's something that I definitely had to learn for myself. It's something that, should you decide one day, there are a lot of people who do process spaghetti sauce this way and love it and have no issues with it. It's a preferential thing, I think. So I'm working my way through that. I do, however, absolutely love just plain canned tomatoes. So these are crushed tomatoes that I did in 2021. It's been 3 years since I've had to do tomatoes, because that year, oh my gosh, I could not believe I didn't even grow that many plants, and the abundance that came from my garden with tomatoes was just amazing. So I do have to do tomatoes again this year, because what I have isn't going to last me all the way until the following year. But that's okay. That's the best thing about being able to add to your pantry, is you add it when you need it, and you do however many batches that you need to work for your family's current needs and current size. Pizza sauce is something that I do, well, both my tomatoes, all my tomato products that are either by themselves or spaghetti sauce. So basically, my salsas I'll do right away in August as they come off fresh in the garden. But basically any other tomato product, I put all my tomatoes in the freezer. And when I'm out of my harvest season, where I'm doing all other sorts of canning, in the winter time, when I want to heat up my kitchen, I will work on processing all of my tomatoes, and I do pizza sauce. I have eggplant campanata. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I did this for the first time last year, and it is amazing. I only have 2 jars left, so I will be doing more this year, and I think I've managed to grow, I see 3 eggplants out there in my garden. So that's okay. It's probably all I need to do another batch of this. So I'm really excited. This was very good. Tomato paste. I do not do my own tomato paste because it would take way too many tomatoes to be able to provide the amount of tomato paste that we use here in the house. So I just purchase it and just keep it stocked on my shelf. Then I do have commercial products up here. Same idea. I do several parties throughout the year, different types of occasions where I'm feeding a very large number of people. Black bean salsa. I do salsa every single year. And the reason I do it every year and I don't do super large batches is, well, one, it's kind of time consuming with having to slice and dice all of your vegetables and everything. But I do it every year because whether, it goes back to my tomato products, whether I'm growing an abundance of tomatoes that year just because I need to actually do tomato products, or I'm doing just a few plants for fresh eating purposes, I can pretty much guarantee I will have way more than I know what to do with. And so every year I basically know I'll have tomatoes, so I can set a couple batches of salsa aside, and I can do various different flavors. So I have black bean salsa, and then I do a regular salsa, and this year I'm actually going to add a third because we like it a little bit more spicy, but there's some applications we just need regular salsa for. I'm all out of those though. We definitely eat through them within the year. And I only have 1 jar of the black bean left, which is good timing. Salsa verde. So this is actually made with green tomatoes. This was done 2 years ago. I did not decide to do anything with my green tomatoes last year. I think I fried up a couple and that was about it. But the leftover tomatoes on your plant, sometimes you can have quite an abundance, and it just sometimes hurts to pull that plant up when you know it's September and your plants aren't doing anything more for the rest of the year, and you have quite a bit of green tomatoes still on your plant. You can do a salsa verde with it. Now I am growing tomatillos this year, so I'm excited to see what the real taste difference will be. But I only have 2 jars of this one left, so that it was time to do another batch. But this makes the best green or white chicken chili, not green chili, white chicken chili. So good. It also makes good enchiladas and stuff too. Peppers. These are, as you can see, the little mini roasting peppers, and not a lot of people like the outcome of a canned pepper because it does get soft. It does break down in the dish that you're using. But for me, when I have an abundance of them, I do can them, and I freeze them as well for different applications. But I do always keep canned peppers on the shelf, because even though you don't get the bite of a pepper and it kind of disintegrates a little bit in your dish, you get such a punch of flavor. It's so good. I especially enjoy using these in any sort of Chinese or Asian cuisine that we might be doing, stir fries and any of that. I love having these on the shelf, and I just use these small little jars because you don't need a lot. Corn relish is really good. I like it in small amounts, but I have some family members who just love this stuff. So I did 2 years ago. It's looking like every time I run a batch, it'll probably last me about 2 years because I only have 2 jars left, and I can guarantee 1 jar will be gone before the end of summer. So it's really good, and it's just pretty. It's just pretty. Peach salsa. I am actually canning more today. I canned peach salsa for the first time last year as well. I've eaten my fair share of peach salsa, and I know I love it, but I never canned it myself because peaches can be one of those things that can be a little difficult getting the right firmness, I guess. You don't want your peaches to be too ripe, but you certainly can't have them not ripe enough. And so I decided to just go ahead and do it last year, and it's amazing. We all love it. Absolutely love it. And I just did the small jars because I wasn't sure exactly what type of method we would be using it in. And so this year I am canning it in pints because we enjoy it that much. And I think I'm going to double batch it too. So the next row under my tomato products is the fruit shelf. This is an area that really varies depending on the current season of life. So sometimes I have an abundance of people to feed, and I love keeping quick pie fillings on the shelf. Sometimes I've got little ones who really love fruit, and depending on the time of the year, you don't really have a lot of fresh fruit available to you. Currently, I'm in a season of life where we're really not going through canned fruit very often, or really even making a whole lot of pies. There's a lot of ways to use canned fruit, of course, but it's just something that is not being eaten through very quickly. So I am not canning any pie filling or fruit this year. But what I do enjoy canning when I do have a need for it are pineapples. This was canned in white grape juice. So it's almost got like a darker color to it. That's the last jar I have, but pineapple is so amazing. The flavor, just like the corn, the flavor of this pineapple compared to a store-bought can of pineapple, it just doesn't compare. The stuff is really amazing. And it is, I've him and hawed over whether or not I was going to do more pineapple, but I don't think I will. You know, that's something I can pretty much do any time of the year if I decide I miss having it on my shelf. So we'll see. It's hard to see in here, but this is blueberries and it's just in regular liquid. It isn't a pie filling. I can turn it into a pie filling if I needed to. And I do mostly enjoy having fruit canned this way because the versatility is, I can do so much more with it than if it was already canned for pie. So blueberries. This is drunk peaches. It's canned with bourbon. It's okay. It's not my favorite. We're struggling going through this. Probably it's the bourbon, I would imagine. I just don't love the flavor. So, but hopefully I'll find some ways to use it up, or I could feed it to the chickens and have some drunk chickens. Pear butter and apple butter. I did both of these 2 years ago. Have not worked my way through them very quickly. I love apple butter. In fact, I just had some with my breakfast this morning. But my family is not a jams and jelly kind of a family. When they make toast, they just use butter. I like putting all different sorts of jams and jellies and butters on my toast, but my family, no one else is like that. And so I'm struggling going through a lot of these. Now, I will say I've done the apple butter inside of a cinnamon roll. That was really good. So I'll probably use these up in different types of cakes and such. Mango. So I do have canned mango on my shelf. It's probably one of the only things on my shelf that I will just be adamant about never canning again, and it would be mango. The texture is really weird, and I do not like the flavor. I like store-bought canned mango. I don't know what they do differently. So I decided this year I had an idea that maybe if I sweeten it up, blend it, and try to make a fruit leather out of it, then maybe we'll eat it. Otherwise, it's going to the chickens. Mandarin oranges. No matter what I do, they taste bitter. So I can disguise this in quite a bit of things, and so we will go through the jars that I have, thankfully. But I don't think I'll can this again. I will leave that one up to the commercial people doing it, and I'll just buy from the store. No matter what I do, no matter how heavy of a syrup I use, it always tastes bitter. And trying to get all the little white pith off is not worth my time, quite frankly. Next to my fruit, I have Dandelion Honey. So that's exactly, it's made from dandelions, just like the name implies. I've seen people also make dandelion jelly, but again, we're not a big jelly family, so I decided I would try doing like a syrup honey sort of method, and it's really good. It really is very good. This isn't something that we're going to go through very quickly, so it's like a one and done type of thing. Maybe several years down the road I'll do more. But this, however, different vinegars, I absolutely love making different vinegars. So I have blueberry and raspberry that I've canned, but I do make other vinegars that I just keep on my shelf. When it's infused, um, it doesn't need to be canned necessarily. I opted to do it just because I was new at canning and I wanted to do everything under the sun. But I do have pineapple and strawberry vinegar. That is so good, so good. So pickled items. I don't think you can be a canner without having several different variety of pickled food. So we have dilly beans, which is just pickled green beans. I did this 2 years ago because the amount of green beans I had was disgusting almost. I was trying to do anything and everything with the green beans that I was growing. So I tried my hand at dilly beans and they're good. I personally am not like a big pickle aficionado. I like pickles, but I could take it or leave it half the time. And, I thought my pickle loving family members would just devour these. They don't go as quickly as I thought they would. These, on the other hand, this and this. So jalapenos, and these are banana peppers, which are these ones happen to be the spicy variety as well. Cowboy Candy essentially is what it would be named if you purchased it in the grocery store. So good. It's hot, but it's sweet because it's candied. It's in a sugary vinegar brine. And oh my goodness, I can't keep these on the shelf. I did so much last year that I thought I was going to have 2 years worth. I have to can them again this year. I'm absolutely astounded. I have, I think, 2 or 3 more jars. So I will definitely be doing these again. These don't go quite as quickly just because, I don't know, I guess banana peppers, we tend to use them a little different than we do the jalapenos. So, but they're still just as good. I have hot banana peppers just in a vinegar brine. There's no sugar or anything, so these also get used up a little differently. These are wonderful on pizzas. They are wonderful on sub sandwiches and salads. They are so good. What are these? Brussel sprouts. In a vinegar brine. I don't love them the way I wanted to. I really don't. There's a steakhouse in Ohio that we go to on occasion that has the best Brussels sprouts in like a spicy kind of same method, spicy and sweet type of sauce that I make fresh at home, and it's absolutely delicious. And I thought maybe I could replicate it, but unfortunately, because Brussels sprouts are not an acidic food, I have to add vinegar to it, and it just ruins it for me. It really does. So I've used them. I don't hate them enough, but I don't love them enough either to do it again. So you live, you learn, you test. That's why I only did a few jars and I didn't go crazy and do a ton of batches, because sometimes you don't like the end product after canning something. Same concept with these baby tomatoes. I added rosemary in there, garlic cloves. I thought these would be really good for on top of like a bruschetta, salad, pizza, something along the lines of that. The amount of vinegar that's inside that tomato when it pops, I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I really don't know how I'm going to get through these these might also go to the chicken. Okay, pickles. How can I pass up pickles? So these were last year's. I just finished a day or two ago this year's pickles. So these were last year's. I did small little spheres, and then I do the hamburger chip type as well. This year I did various different sizes of pickles because my family currently right now, with today's size family, tomorrow could be different. We foster, and so who knows what tomorrow's feeding size will look like. So today we could open one of this size and it'd be perfect. If I have to put any in the fridge, it's just a little bit, and I know those will be snacked on tomorrow. If I have all the kids here to eat, if I'm doing the 12, people, 10, 12, whatever, I definitely need a bigger jar. So I've decided just to do both. I mean, I could open two, but I might as well just can a bigger amount of them. So, but pickles are something that need to sit. Once you're done canning, you need to sit them in your pantry and forget about them a good 2 months before they're ready. So I always can an amount that will get me through that transitional period from year to year as well. So you're not really canning on a 12-month basis. You're looking at more of a 14, 15 month by the time your new pickles will be ready. I also do pickled garlic. This is a really great concept, and even though we just discussed how I don't love vinegar, this just comes out so much different because the amount of garlic that's in there really overwhelms that vinegar. It makes great dressing, but what I enjoy about this is I don't always have to worry about keeping fresh garlic on hand. Sometimes I just want quick and convenient, and I don't want to have to peel garlic, chop it. I don't know why it feels like so much of an added step, and it really isn't. But I'll keep this in my fridge, and it'll stay, it's in a brine, so it stays good and fresh for quite a while after opening it. So I'll just go in and grab a couple of those cloves and toss it in whatever I'm making. I absolutely love it. It makes a great gift for the Christmas time. New homeowners, when you're going to the house for the first time, with the big beautiful loaf of bread and a good olive oil. It's perfect. The last little bit over here. So I do have a few juices that I can myself. I have a, what is this? Concord grape juice. It's a concentrate, so you would have to pour this into a pitcher and then add another thing of water. It is so good, so good. I wish we had Concord grapes more readily available in our area. Where I purchased them from, it's such a small quantity, it would be way too expensive to can like in abundance. I do just one batch, enough to have just that little bit on my shelf. And then I do my own cranberry juice. This isn't a very good depiction though. This is definitely a more weaker style. I had a foster daughter who lived with us for several months, and she loved the cranberry juice, except I had one on hand that wasn't very potent. And then she tried one where it was how I liked it, and it was a little bit more stronger, and she wasn't a fan. So I ran a few batches, and so I still have a ton left over. I'll get through them as like a blender with maybe smoothies or something. Strawberry lemonade, I did not get to this year. This is also a concentrate. So again, you'd pour it in your jug and then match the amount of water to your liking. This stuff is absolutely amazing, especially when you use fresh picked strawberries. It makes a world of difference. So I only have these two left. It's almost the end of summer, so thank goodness, because I didn't do any strawberry picking this year. So I will have this on my list to can next year. And then these are just my dummy jars. When I'm running a canner, a pressure canner, and I don't have enough jars to make a full batch, if I'm doing, say, my green beans or carrots or something, and I'm done a couple batches, which I typically do, and I'm getting to that last batch, and instead of having 9 pints, I have 6 or 7. I'll just add 2 jars of water, let it run through the whole process with the jars of green beans, and I have potable, sterilized water. If ever need be, I can open this up, drink it, use it to cook, have my dogs drink some fresh water, whatever the case may be. Or if I don't need it, but I need a jar, I can just feed it to one of my plants and use the jar. Okay, so the top shelf up here is where I keep all of my stock. So I do turkey, pork, ham, beef, and chicken. And I do all of it homemade. With my chicken and turkey, I just keep, when we have chicken or turkey throughout the year, I keep the bones and scraps and I put them in a bag and I keep them in my freezer. Once I accumulate a certain amount, I'll bring them out and I'll make up usually just a canner load at a time of stock. It's something that I do all year long. So unlike green beans, I do that as they come out of my garden when needed. That I do all year long. The next row is dedicated for chicken. Chicken is one of my favorite things to can and have just quick, ready for dinners. It's a versatile meat, whether it's waiting in the freezer for you or waiting in your jar for you. Chicken is definitely one of those items that I think we all tend to fall back on when we need to make something quick for dinner. So I absolutely love having canned chicken. So this is definitely also science experiment like. So these are drumsticks, whole drumsticks in a jar. And I don't put anything in there. I just put those in there. I put my lid on. I do everything. I process it for 90 minutes because this is a quart. And when it comes out, my chicken is cooked. It's incredibly tender. The bone will just break in half, but it'll actually just smush down. That's how tender everything in this jar is. And then you can feed your animals the chicken bone if you want, because it's incredibly tender at that point. Or you can add it to your garden like bone meal. But that broth that's in there, you can see that. That is some of the best chicken broth ever. So if I'm deciding to make, let's just say, a chicken pot pie or chicken soup, I will pull the drumsticks out. I will fish all of the meat off of it, dispose of the bones in which manner I decide that day. But I definitely keep the broth that's in here and add that to the soup, okay? It is so good. Use every bit of it, every bit of it. And again, I know it looks so, but it is really good. A second runner-up favorite of mine is canned pork. And I think too, because it cooks under pressure, it cans under pressure, so it definitely gets tender. And it helps to infuse all of those flavors if you choose to put anything in there. So this is Mississippi pot roast that I just did last month, actually. We were completely out. And I usually don't do this until winter, but I had to have some on my shelf. I couldn't wait. And I've already cracked open a jar. So, and it's got your peppercini peppers in there. It's just so good. All that good flavor is in there. I made a homemade blend for the ranch, the dry seasoning packet. I made my own homemade blend because the purchased from the store has milk solids and stuff you don't want to put while you're canning, and it is absolutely phenomenal. I have beef stew. I do an awful lot of, and I definitely do a lot of lunches for me, for work, for my husband. I can create all kinds of different meals too. But when we get a cow every year, you get a lot of stew meat. And so I reserve so much for different methods, and canning is definitely one of my favorite methods. Italian beef, which is the same concept basically as the Mississippi pork roast, except I just did beef, which is just as good. Okay, this is beef and gravy. So I have my stew meat in just plain liquid. It's not plain because when it's cooked, obviously now it's like a beef broth. But this I made intentionally so that the liquid in here would already taste like a beef gravy. And I just have to thicken it once it's on the stove, and you can pour it over mashed potatoes, rice, egg noodles, whatever you want. So good. It is so good. And then chipotle beef, which is absolutely fantastic when it's just like me and my daughter for some reason, if it's just her and I for dinner. I have instant rice that I've made myself, and it takes but 10 minutes for that to hydrate. Open a can of this, get a jar of salsa, get some shredded cheese, and we've got our own little chipotle bowl. So good, so good. Hamburger meat, another lifesaver. My husband will eat his own weight in my hamburger meat that I can. He absolutely loves it, and I can guarantee you in, gosh, what is it? Like 15 days, I think. He has a show, and when we get back home, sometime that week, I guarantee you I'm going to come downstairs and this is going to be cracked open. He'll have it with his breakfast, his lunch, maybe not dinner because I'm usually cooking dinner, but if he had to. He loves this stuff. And then I do a large and small. I only have 2 of the small left, so I have to get to canning more of these, but this is taco flavor. This I absolutely love. If you have fussy eaters in your family, you need to get some of this on your shelf, because you just crack this open. You can drain off some of the liquid if you want. I actually thicken it with just a little bit of either cornstarch or flour. And you can put it over nachos, over fries. You could make tacos, enchiladas, whatever you're going to use taco meat for. But I love it because my picky eater in the house is my 14-year-old. And if I'm making something for dinner that I just know he's not going to really enjoy, I'll just crack open one of these and he'll have a taco and not complain. So, and then again, this is an individual serving size for my 14-year-old. So my daughter and I probably would eat out of this and still have leftovers. So, but I do the small basically for that purpose. Okay, and then corned beef. I corn my own beef and I can it. And it is one of the best corned beefs I think you'll ever have. Okay, my next row is not really a hodgepodge, but there's various different things on it. So I have my own canned salmon. I have wild Alaskan, and I don't know what this was, salmon I suppose. They are both 2 and 3 years old. I don't love this the way I was hoping I would. I just cracked open a jar 3-4 nights ago and made a really good pasta dish. My daughter actually had some more left over yesterday for dinner and she really liked it. It's not my favorite, and I won't let it go to waste. I have several jars. I have 3 of these and like 5 of these, so I have to just find ways to use them up. I won't likely can my own salmon again though. And then I do have my own canned ham, as I said before. Last year was the first year I decided to can my own ham, and I love it. It made the best breakfast casserole the other day. It makes fabulous ham salad. Breakfast in the morning, it becomes to where you could shred it, and it makes really good sandwiches. It's just so good. It is so good. This is technically beef, but I had to put it down here because I ran out of space. This is Swiss steak that I canned, and I only did this, again, I did this last month when I normally don't pressure can things like this anyhow until winter, but I made an error with getting my cow butchered last year. Every November our cow comes in, and when the butcher called me last year, I'm not sure what on earth he asked me, but I vaguely remember the conversation now, and all I know was it kind of was one of those moments where I was like, oh my gosh, that's what he asked me. Because the amount of cubed steak that I came home with, I don't know what my other option, like I don't know what I was missing out on in lieu of now having the amount of cubed steak that I had, but it was way too much. And so I'm just trying to find ways to get it out of my freezer. And so I tested this and it's amazing. It's beef, so it pulls right apart. It doesn't really matter what cut of beef you use. It's going to get super tender in the jar. But it makes very, very good Swiss steak. One lonely jar of turkey. I only can turkey once a year, and that's after Thanksgiving. We usually have quite a bit left over, and so however many jars it makes is what it makes, and that's what I can. And then I'll keep it on hand for turkey pot pie. So good. It's the only thing I use it for. Okay, chili sauce. So good. It's meat, and I don't have store-bought anymore. It's to go over top of like hot dogs. There's no beans in it. It's just the meat and other stuff. It is so good, and it makes your hot dogs taste really good, but it makes really good chili cheese fries as well. We get down to this next level here, which is pretty much just different types of potatoes, pumpkin. I don't have any white potatoes on my shelf because we have gone through all of them. I will be canning some this fall. I didn't grow potatoes this year, but my neighbor gave me a whole bunch because his garden, I guess, is just doing fabulous. So, and he says he doesn't can or anything like that. So he goes, do you want some potatoes? Yes, absolutely. Fresh potatoes don't store very long, especially in my house for some reason. So come fall time, they'll have to be canned, and so I'll do that. Sweet potatoes. I won't can sweet potatoes anymore. I'm struggling to go through this. This was canned in 2021. I did find that they make very good biscuits, sweet potato biscuits. I have 2 jars left, so I guess I've worked on getting through some of them, but my thought process was they would mash up and make really good, mashed sweet potatoes. They do not. They do not. At least not the way I did it. I don't know. Butternut squash. This last row is different soups. Vegetable soup, tomato soup, chicken soup without the noodles, hamburger soup, and I also do a few things. There's a content creator, her name is Jenny, and she's given me so many different ideas. This is her recipe, red pepper chicken soup. So good. It's just pretty much a blend of peppers with a chicken broth, chunks of chicken in it. You can put it over rice, put a little bit of rice in there. You could choose to put noodles in there, but this is the type of stuff that I will take for lunch throughout the winter. It's really good. And then this is pepper casserole that I created. I love stuffed peppers, and then I love even more when it's more of like a unstuffed pepper. So I just brown up the meat, and then you have your diced peppers, your diced onions on the stovetop, and you put in all your good flavorings, and then your tomatoes, and then you serve that over a bed of rice. So I basically took all of it except for the rice, and I put it in a jar. And now I just open this, I heat it through on the stovetop. You can add things to it if you wish at that time, and then just put it over rice. It is so good. I do both sizes because sometimes I'll be able to open up some quarts to serve as dinner, or I'll take a pint for lunch. And then I have 5-gallon buckets down below. Those are my refill buckets for the items that I work out of in my kitchen. So my flours, my oats, my pancake mix. I have dried milk powder I use an awful lot of, and I keep containers in my kitchen, and as I run out of that, I just come in here, restock it, and I'm good to go. Well, that is it. That is my pantry tour. I thank you so much for sticking through this. If you made it till the end, let me tell you, you are a champ. I love pantry tours myself, and so I appreciate being able to show you what I have. This room depicts my passion. This room really shows off my hard work. Everything that starts from a seed going into the ground, me growing and cultivating, and then finally bringing in and preserving. If you follow me here or on Instagram or Facebook, you can also start to see the things that I feed my family using everything that I have here. It's one thing to put it in a jar, but it's another to know what the heck to do with it afterwards. So follow me and let's share some recipe ideas with each other. Let's feed our family, and let's get back to the basics. Let's start getting into our kitchens more and feeding our family all of those yummy things you get through a drive-through. I promise you, you can still have at home, but you can make it yourself. You can save some money, and hopefully you can start to feel better and healthier. I absolutely love and have a true passion for preserving food and feeding my family. And so I hope I can inspire you to also do the same. Please like, share, follow, and comment. If you want to see my freezers, I am so happy to be able to do that as well. So just let me know. If there's anything I overlooked and kind of just breezed right through, let me know in the comments and I can address it, and if need be, even just make another video. But I thank you so much for coming along, and I hope I see you the next time I'm in the kitchen or in my pantry.